Look, at this point, everybody told you to build a personal brand. Show up as yourself, be authentic, post content, post this hook, create this funnel, create this flywheel, and use this whatever bullshit strategy to get clients. I'm sure you've heard this thousands of times by now, and the space is honestly fucking crazy. So this is why I want to make this video, because I want to talk to you about why you got to stop building a personal brand and you got to start building a cult fucking character. And just like in the thumbnail, you will learn how to become an icon in your space. Not just another expert, not just another coach, not just another consultant. No, a fucking icon. Because that is where the real money and the real success lies, right? So let's get into it, because this is going to be amazing. So look, every guru in this space is selling you the same fucking thing at this point, right? A funnel, a template, a proven system. Everybody has a fucking proven system nowadays. You got to post this, you got to say that, you got to use this hook, you got to follow these 7 steps, whatever. And the thing is, you do that, but you still feel invisible. And you still feel like you're shouting into the void. Why? Because they're trying to sell you on a strategy that doesn't necessarily work for you. They're trying to build something around their own strategy, not around who you actually are. This is why my biggest thesis is I build brand around you. I build brand around the actual person behind it, because otherwise, what the fuck are we doing? Why are we doing this in the first place? And the reason why they do all of this, and I'm going to unpack everything for you, is it's super easy to fucking sell, right? It's super easy to sell you on a strategy and make those whiteboard videos. And I'm going to call myself out on this bullshit because I tried that. And let me tell you, it doesn't fucking work, or it does for people that are super desperate. The reason why they try to package it everything into this like funnel, flywheel, template, whatever terminology they use nowadays, is because it's super easy to entice you to buy, because it sounds, it sounds good. It sounds like it's gonna actually get results. But in reality, you end up feeling invisible because you try to apply a formula that is not focused on who you actually are deep down. And this is what the video is going to be about. Because again, they're not in the business of making you powerful. This is what you need to understand with this entire space. They're in the business of selling you systems, right? They're in the business of selling you systems, because systems are easy to package. It's super easy to sell 7 steps to 10K followers, right? And sure, it sounds like a commodity, but a lot of people are going to go for that because it's super easy to sell that. The $100,000 funnel, right? Copy this VSL. It's all the same recycled bullshit over and over again, which I'm sure by now, if you actually want to build a premium brand that resonates with who you are deep down in your core as a human being, you're tired of this shit. I know I am. So the thing is, nobody becomes an icon by copying a funnel. This is what we're going to dive into today, because I genuinely want to help you watching. I want to help you get in that mindset of like, fuck this strategy thing. I'm trying to become an icon. I'm trying to disrupt the entire market and make it mine and build my loyal army, right? So again, nobody builds a cult following with just a template. And the people you actually admire, the ones who command the rooms, the ones you look up to, who have people obsessed with them, who charge whatever they want, they didn't follow a playbook, right? They didn't follow a plan. They didn't follow a step-by-step strategy. They became a fucking icon. And I'm gonna give you the formula for this, which you can apply in every industry, any industry. So today, what I'm gonna show you is something very different. I'm not gonna give you a funnel. I'm not going to give you a system. Instead, I'm going to give you an actual transformation. So you can stop being just a personal brand and you can start becoming a cult level character, an icon basically, the kind of founder that people cannot stop watching, cannot stop talking about, and cannot say no to. So let's fucking go. Grab a coffee, grab some orange juice, whatever, because this is going to be crazy. So this is the cult character playbook, right? How you become an actual icon. Now, the personal brand guru modes thing is, following templates, optimizing everything, building an audience just for the sake of building an audience. Usually it's about playing it safe And honestly, it's about copying what already works because this is the fucking game. This is the game of the typical personal brand. Now, when you're an icon or a cult character, what you do instead is you break the templates. You transform identity. You create believers, not just fans, not just followers. You polarize people on purpose because this is the whole idea of becoming an icon, becoming a cult character. And you essentially become the thing that people copy. Every one of my clients that I work with, and we're talking different industries, fitness. I have a founder that I'm working with 35 years of experience in selling multiple businesses, valuations, private equity. I work with fashion stylists, with let me think, agency owners, with mindset coaches. Every single person that I work with, this is the formula that we're using. And strategies and content plans and stuff like that, building an offer, building the infrastructure, that is just the tip of the iceberg because this goes beyond that. This is about, again, going from this to this, a cold character. Now, let's take it step by step. Step one, you got to kill your authentic self. And I know you might sit here and watch this and you're like, what do you mean? Because everybody's saying you got to show up as your authentic self. Exactly. That is fucking bullshit, okay? So the first thing these gurus are going to tell you is to be authentic, right? Everybody says this. You got to show up as yourself. You got to be relatable. You got to be vulnerable. And look, I said those things as well, but there's a nuance. There's a caveat to this. That all sounds nice, but it's the exact advice keeping you small. And I'm going to show you why. The big problem with your authentic self right now is you're basically, in this particular moment, your authentic self is the product of your conditioning. So that means your fears, your limitations, your need to be liked. And that version of you isn't necessarily magnetic. And you might not be in this situation right now, but a lot of people are, or a lot of people have some tendencies with this. What I'm trying to say is this is comfortable, right? And usually comfortable doesn't build actual cults. And this is what we want to do. We want to build brands that stand against the test of time. We want to build cults, right? And authentic usually means unintentional. This is something that I haven't heard anyone say in this fucking space because, again, they're trying to sell you on whatever fucking bullshit strategy. But authentic usually means unintentional. Because when you're authentic, you just talk about like random shit. You're not intentional with the way that you create your brand. And this is exactly what we're trying to do here. Because you're showing up as who you've been so far, not as who you need to become. I'm going to say that again. You're showing up as who you've been so far, not as the one that you need to become. And I'm going to unpack all of this. This is the icon approach that I want to help you internalize, basically. Let's take some of the biggest names, right? Prince. Prince wasn't being himself, like quote unquote, just be yourself. No, fuck no. He designed the character so specific, so deliberate that you couldn't look away. Prince, this is the very definition of becoming magnetic and getting the aura and whatever the fuck term you want to use, right? Prince didn't just wake up and become Prince. Prince was super, like, highly intentional with everything regarding his brand, regarding his style, regarding his presence. He designed that character, right? This is the mindset behind it. Steve Jobs crafted a persona around vision, simplicity, and controlled intensity. And these people didn't randomly achieve magnetism, they fucking engineered it, right? That level of being magnetic and drawing people to you and building almost like an army that is so obsessed with you and with your ideology, with your thesis, that will go follow you to the ends of the fucking earth. That is engineered. That is fucking intentional. And that's obviously, in terms of building an actual personal brand, that's not done by following a funnel. That's not done by following a bullshit guru strategy. And this is what they're never going to tell you about, because this actually makes you powerful. This makes you unfucking stoppable. And I want to break it down for you. So how do you want to go about this? You need to stop asking, who am I? Because that question keeps you stuck right now. Instead, you need to start asking, who do I need to become to be undeniable? So forget about the strategy, the offer, the niche, whatever. Forget about all of that. Ask yourself, who do I need to become to be undeniable. Because when you become that version of yourself, we're talking on a deep identity level, you show up and that transpires in your content, in the way you speak, in the way you communicate with people on sales calls, in the way you sell and present your offer. So this is the question that you got to start asking from now. The way to go about this on a practical level is this: write down 3 traits of the most powerful version of yourself. Not who you are, but who you would need to be to command any room you walk into. That's your character blueprint right there, right? So write down 3 traits. The gurus won't give you this. Again, they'll give you hook templates, but I'm gonna give you an actual like identity that you need to construct intentionally. And once you embody that identity, you can show that in your content. And it's basically a process. You do that at the same time. You embody that identity and you create the content around it at the same time. And again, this is highly intentional, right? So step 2 with this, you need to engineer your status signals. And I put The Weeknd in here because this is a very good example. You need to study his career as an artist, as an icon, because again, he went from just being a music artist to a fucking cult-like character. And I highlight the word character here because it's almost that. Like, you can look at his music videos, his shows, everything feels like a story. Have you seen that? Like, everything seems like a fucking movie. And again, that's not random, that's intentional. And the funnel bros, as I like to call them, never talk about status. Because status cannot be templated. Status cannot be templated. You can put an offer thing in a fucking like 20 module course, but status cannot be templated. It cannot be copy pasted. Status is felt. And people decide your status in seconds, right? Before you pitch them, before you post, before you say anything of substance, they decide your status in seconds. Now, status lives in a couple of different things. It lives in voice, the way you, your pace, your certainty, your cadence. It lives in your frame. So how you position yourself and others, in your presence, your energy, your eye contact. When, for example, when you're having a sales call, in the way you hold eye contact with that potential client, in your stillness, and obviously in your aesthetic. So visual identity, thumbnails, everything that people see, everything that you see here on my channel, and you can go on my Instagram, everything has been highly intentional and engineered for a purpose. And everybody that works with me, everybody that I talk to says that, like, your stuff looks really, really amazing. And I'm like, yeah, because it's all done intentionally. This isn't random. And we're talking about branding. This isn't like the way to construct a character and a brand that is cult-like. You need to be highly intentional about that. Nothing is random. Nothing, even the presentation that you see here, this isn't random. The colors, nothing is random. So let's take some like low status versus high status as an example. Low status is basically you over-explaining and justifying, speaking too fast without any pause. You have usually that like, I hope this helps energy, which is very like apologetic. You ask for permission to take space. It's generic, template visuals. They all look the same. There's nothing like special. There's no X factor. There's nothing. And it's essentially this idea of trying to please everyone. And I made a video about this. I literally had a call with a fitness coach and she was telling me like, from what I'm hearing from these gurus, I got to appeal to as many people as possible so that I can make as much money as possible, right? And I told her like, that's completely fucking wrong. Stop trying to appease to please everyone, because that is the wrong way to go about it. That is how you essentially signal low status. With high status, on the other hand, you make statements. You don't make requests, right? You have a slow, deliberate delivery in the way you create content, in the way you speak on camera. You don't necessarily rush. You don't try to like push a message like too fast. No, you hold the silence whenever you're talking to a client. You take space without apologizing for it. You're essentially different, distinct. You have polarizing aesthetics. So my aesthetics, for example, I'm aware a lot of people are not going to like that necessarily, but I don't care because I'm not after those people. I'm not after those people. And this being high status is about repelling the wrong people on purpose, because it's essentially you want to go from just trying to please everyone to trying to form that loyal army. And I said it before, loyal armies do not exist without an enemy, and we're going to get into that, but you need an enemy with your brand as well. And you need to essentially go from that low status in here to high status with all of these traits. So let's move on. This is what performers, and I want to touch on this because it's super interesting. This is what performers understood, right? So when Ozzy, we got Ozzy here, walked on stage, he didn't explain himself, right? And we all know Ozzy Osbourne. So he didn't ask if the audience was fucking ready. He just arrived. And the presence was the actual message. The presence was the message, right? He didn't need to essentially say anything because his own character and presence was the entire message. And the thing is, no funnel can teach you this. No template is going to give you this. You have to actually become it. You have to embody that presence. Now, as I mentioned, you need an enemy. Step 3, choose that enemy. Every icon, you can think of even superheroes in movies, every single icon has an enemy. Every cult has something that it's going against. You can think Apple versus Big Brother, Prince versus the record labels, Nike versus quitting. And if you don't stand against anything, nobody knows what they're joining when they follow you. So when people follow you, when people enter your world, they need to know, okay, this person stands against something. And I know deep down what I'm joining. I'm joining a movement against this thing. This is how loyalty is formed. Because we're talking about building a cult-like brand. We're talking about building a following of believers, of clients. Like I always say this, my clients are not just my clients, they're actual believers in my ideology, in the way I speak, in my concepts, in my thesis. So this is what you want. You need an enemy because the minute people follow you, the minute people discover you, they need to connect to that. They need to say, this guy has the balls to go against this. Finally, I've been waiting for someone that says this. Does that make sense? So you need to have that. The enemy, because this is wired into us. Humans are tribal, right? It's the whole us versus them narrative that creates instant belonging. So when you pick an enemy, it could be an ideology, it can be a system, something in your industry you don't really like, it could be even a person. When you pick that enemy, people don't just like you. They feel like they're fighting beside you, and you are obviously the leader. So how do you actually find your enemy? Because you might be sitting here saying, okay, Andre, this sounds really cool, but how the fuck do I actually implement this on a practical level, right? Super simple. 3 questions. The first one, what belief in your industry genuinely makes you fucking mad? Regardless of your industry. They could, again, I'm working with people from like real estate, fashion, business, whatever. Regardless of the industry that you're in, I'm sure there's something in that particular industry that makes you genuinely mad internally. You have to find that. Now, second question, what lie is costing your people money, respect, or power? Third question, what are you unwilling to stay silent about? Because I knew for a fact with my journey and with my brands, I'm not willing to stay silent about this shit. Like essentially building actual brands, building brands that last without the whole copy template thing. Like I wasn't willing to stay silent about it, and then I started making content around that. I wasn't willing to stay silent regarding the whole like you have to sell or whatever like bullshit course, charge like super low, like fuck that. And I went against that narrative. So these are the 3 questions. You can take a screenshot that you need to ask yourself. Now, my enemy, because I want to dive deeper into this, is the entire, again, personal branding industrial complex. You can call it the funnel gurus, the template sellers, the people telling you to just be authentic and post consistently and follow their whatever 7-step system while you stay invisible, chasing metrics, copying what worked for someone else, because they're not building icons. This is what I'm trying to tell you here. They're not building icons. They're building content fucking robots. And their advice is keeping founders broke, invisible, and stuck on the hamster wheel forever so that you can essentially give them more money, right? So this is my enemy. Now, step 4, you need to design your cult mechanics. And these are the 4 cult mechanics that you got to take a look at. The very first thing is you need to build a world, not just content. So when we're talking about creating a brand, actually creating a brand, you can look at the top brands in the world, Apple, Nike, whatever. They design the world. If you look at Apple, when you buy an iPhone, they have the whole product line. It's almost like a universe that you step into. It's not just about the phone, not just about the AirPods or the MacBook. It's not about the product. It's about the actual universe that they designed. And so when you create content, when you build this, like design your cult mechanics, you want to go for that. You want to create your own universe, not just some content, not just some videos here and there. So that when people interact with your content, they get into that whole ecosystem, they understand, wait a minute, this person is building an entire world and I feel at home, basically. So again, this is branding 101. You don't want to position yourself as, just some other content creator out there with no identity, with no individual style, with no individual belief, with a big fear in terms of, I'm afraid of speaking my mind. Fuck that. Build your world, not just the content. That's the first thing. Second thing, you have to own the language. So when we're talking about you becoming an icon, you have to create almost like your own language within that brand. So this could sound like, for example, how I'm doing it here, the enemy effect, right? This could sound like whatever terminology you want to use within that ecosystem, within your world, but you need to essentially say those things in your content so much that it becomes your own fucking language, which almost becomes proprietary. So the third thing, transformation, not just information. You need to deliver an actual transformation, not just info. The problem with this space right now is that we're almost in 2026. You got AI everywhere. And so, for example, I'm talking to a lot of fitness coaches and I see that particular industry is literally fucking falling apart because everyone is giving a meal plan, a training workout, whatever, like a plan. But you can get that on ChatGPT. You can get that on Gemini. Like, why would I hire you as a fitness coach if you just deliver information? And this goes for every industry. So you need to make sure you deliver an actual deep transformation on an identity level in terms of outcomes, but most importantly, on an identity like core human level. You need to transform people. You don't just deliver information, step-by-step guides, step-by-step modules. No, transform people regardless of the industry that you're in. It could be real estate. Transform those clients that want to do the big deals. Show them on a mindset level the opportunity in terms of investment. Show them that, right? That's just an example. And last but not least, in terms of the cult mechanics, you need to be able to exclude people on purpose, right? The problem most people have is they try to just please everyone. They don't want to exclude anyone. They're afraid of saying no. They're afraid of denying people access to them. So for example, when you get on a client call, on a sales call, let's say you don't really vibe with that person, you have to be willing to exclude people. You need to be able to say no, because otherwise you're just gonna get in that people pleasing modes. And I was in it last year. I was in that place myself, but I'm not anymore. Because the whole thing with this is you can put this in your content as well. When you're creating content, that's why we have the us versus them narrative, because the things that you're going to say are going to polarize your audience, and you're going to get the people that fucking love what you're saying, and then you're going to get those people that absolutely hate you for it. And then they will be excluded on purpose, which is fine, right? You don't need everyone. You don't need every single person on planet Earth to agree with you, because this is not the point. So when we're talking about the cult mechanics, these are the 4 main things that you got to do. So look, if you're done with the whole template fucking bullshit and you're ready to actually build an iconic brand, you can DM me on my Instagram, andre.unlocked. I only work one-on-one with people, and basically I'm helping them become icons in their industry. and most importantly, transcends those fucking industries so they can take over the entire fucking space. This is what we're doing. So again, this was the video. Don't just build a personal brand. Don't build a copy paste funnel. Don't listen to them. Build a cult-like character, build a cult-like brand, following, and a loyal army that will literally take you to the fucking moon. I'll see you in the next one.